To play,
Oh, I miss you.
girl.
And welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin and Brachelle. Brachelle is right there. Brachelle, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. It's almost 70 degrees here in Salt Lake City. So I am loving the way that's helping me feel. How are you, Kevin?
I'm really good. Now, we've got a great guest for you today, everybody, so please stay with us for the entire show. She's written a book called Always Hungry, and she has lost a whole Brachelle, and we're going to get into that when we come back right in just about 30 seconds, and we'll introduce Jane, and off we go. So thank you for being here, Brachelle, and we're looking forward to a great hour. There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin, and Brachelle is right there. I'm going to move her there, and so that Jane's going to be right in the middle of us right there. And Jane McGuinness is our guest, and she has had quite the ride, and she's had a wonderful and at times not so wonderful experience. But now she's lost 100 and doing it the old-fashioned way. She's lost 103 pounds, and we're going to talk all about that and the book that she's written and everything about it. But Brachelle, I'm going to begin with you. Do you have any thoughts or any questions for Jane, first of all?
I've got a lot. I've got a lot of questions. We got to chat a little bit before the show and go over some things that I am going to make sure that we talk about. And thankfully, she also talks about it in her book. So that's just an even bigger way, a reason for you to go and get that book. And Jane, I have to tell you something. I love that you have this little section on your website, which is Jane McGuinness, theauthor.com. Everybody, if you want to follow along, you say heartbreaking, fascinating, healing, and hilarious. Brilliant for anyone who has ever obsessed about food or struggled when looking in the mirror. Reading this book helped me learn to like myself a little bit more. A must read. I agree. So just genuinely thank you for being here, and tell us a little bit about where your journey started.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's interesting. You mentioned that review, and when that came through, like that really did move me. Like I was really, really touched, because that's why I wrote the book. I wrote this because I truly wanted to help. I wanted to speak out for a lot of reasons. And because with my lived experience, I lost the weight so long ago, the old-fashioned way, and I kept it off in this, this crazy, like, diet obsessed, world that we're in. And I wanted to speak out because, firstly, I realized like diet culture is toxic. And, a lot of people aren't aware that I used to be in a much larger body. New friends, people I've met this last decade, just didn't know. Some of them didn't believe me, and I'm treated differently in society now. And that's incredibly sad. I just realized how real slim privilege is, thin privilege, I call it what you want. It's the same thing, and it's all wrong. And so I had to speak out. I also wanted to write the story because what I realized was that I had to heal internally before I could possibly lose the weight and keep it off, because, it was never really about the food. I mean, I called the book Always Hungry because I realized I was, but it was never food that I hungered for. It's still not, so I had to get to the bottom of what was really going on when we emotionally eat. So, of course, when I went back to school with my divorce and studied psychology and became a therapist, I just understood it on a far, far deeper level. And again, wanted to write just to help people. And I'm continuing to do that in my second book too, that I'm currently trying to get done, but that'll be done when it's done.
Yes.
That'll happen, and it will be a dynamic book as well, because you are a great shiny example of, because you've seen it all. You had a food dysfunction as a child. You went through divorce. You lost the weight. You're now super fit, and you're hiking in the woods. You and Rochelle need to go out and hike in the woods. By the way,
Definitely.
she is just north of me in Vancouver, BC.
Oh, nice. Well,
Mhm.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
be showing up at your door, Jane.
Oh, absolutely. God. Oh no, I love to hike. Actually, a chapter in the book. I took two of my children on the Camino, and we hiked a section of the Camino de Santiago, and that was a real highlight for all of us because I couldn't have done that 15, 20 years ago when I was in a much larger body. I'm pretty sure I just would have collapsed somewhere along the path. But it was great because my children are now, they're all passionate about movement and eating good real food, and just they have a really, really balanced, healthy relationship with their body, which is just the ultimate gift, and what I wanted to demonstrate and inspire in them. That we don't have to obsess about our appearance and what we're eating every day, and we're just, as long as we're just using common sense, which I maintain is not that common, certainly not in God diet culture. I just want them to use common sense and just find some movement that brings joy. I think that's the key. Find something you love to do, and do it and repeat.
It's kind of like a washing machine. Just keep repeating. And now I wanted to ask you, because we're gonna play a piece for you a little bit later, because I want to know, when you were the way that you describe it is you're heavier self,
Yeah.
and you looked in the mirror. What did you see?
I saw a girl that was struggling. Like, I had three small children, and the very nice husband, but he worked very long hours. We didn't have family around us. We were in remote mining towns in outback Australia, and it was tough. My eldest was neurodivergent, wasn't diagnosed until 17 with autism. So we didn't know. People judge you. They just think you've got a child that's misbehaving. But I had a neurodivergent child that no one sort of fell through the gaps when it came to assessments. And so there was a lot going on. Like, I was struggling. And so food became a comfort. I'd go to the kitchen when I was anxious. I was struggling with an anxiety disorder at the time, which I overcame. Like, I was overwhelmed. I was exhausted. Of course, I wasn't getting enough healthy protein, so I'd be tired and reaching for sugar and carbs. And there was a lot to unpack and heal from. But ultimately, when I looked in the mirror, I wasn't comfortable in my body. And I respect that some people are, and I absolutely no judgment if someone's comfortable in a larger body, but I didn't have energy. Like, I was tired. I didn't feel good. And sadly, I was really lacking in self-worth. My self-esteem was, it was at an all-time low. Like, I didn't feel good when I looked in the mirror. And I just knew. I knew that the only person that could change that was me. And fortunately, I'm very, very determined. So after the birth of my third child, I was at my heaviest, and I thought, okay, like, this is going to go one way or the other. Either I'm going to keep buying bigger pants, or I'm going to do something about this and reclaim my health. And so I started walking, and just thought, and I'd said to my husband at the time, like, I'm going to do this. Like, it's, I tried all of the ridiculous diets over the years, like all of them. They work for 5 minutes and the weight comes back on, because if you don't get to the bottom of what's going on, of course, it's just a Band-Aid. So, I just kept going. So I think we just have to do, like, you just got to get up. If you want something, you've got to work at it. And I do maintain that most things in life worth having require hard work. It's just part of the deal. So I didn't feel like getting out of bed every day, if I was walking or whatever it was I was doing. But so I had to show up for myself, and ultimately also for my kids. I wanted to be the healthiest I could be for them as well as myself.
Rochelle?
Yeah, what was it like when you lost all that weight and then you looked in the mirror and it hit you for the first time?
It was one. I mean, to be honest, like, I obviously had a lot of fun shopping for new clothes and wearing things that I couldn't wear when I was in a larger body. But what was also powerful was that I then had to realize that my self-worth has nothing to do with the way that I look in my external form. I had to unpack that. So now I have to be very careful to recognize that I maintain my health because I feel good. I'm not, and feel good internally and have energy. And it's not because I want to look a certain way, like if I'm going on a date or, for society. because of course society does applaud us, and it's not always for the right reasons. Often we're applauded because we're told that we're inherently more worthy when we're in a smaller body, when we fit that ridiculous mold. So because of this slim privilege that I now live with, I wanted to write the book to speak out and say, this is not okay. It's abhorrent that I'm treated better. I mean, everywhere, restaurants, by like staff in clothing stores, like on an airplane, like my life is so much easier. And I don't just mean physically. It's easier because people treat me better when you leave the house and you're in a certain body and a certain body size that's deemed acceptable. And that's really, really sad, because by virtue of the fact that I have this privilege, other people are still disadvantaged and they don't have this. And that's just so incredibly wrong. So I really wanted to tell people and remind them, we all just need to be kind to each other. Someone else's body, firstly, it's none of your business. You have no right to judge them. You don't know what's going on in their life. And frankly, just, if you don't mind my language, like there's a line in the book I say in here, like, let's just all wake up every day and be kind and try not to be an asshole.
Yeah.
That's
a good one.
That is a universal concept. Let's try not to be an asshole.
I think that'll work.
Forget. Sadly, people forget, and I see it now. So when I see someone in a larger body, if they're being discriminated against, or, I say when I go to a bar now, like, I get served really quickly for a drink, and that's not fair, because I was the same woman, and I would often have to wait to get the bartender's attention. That's just disgusting. And why is it now that someone in a larger body is possibly still going to have to be the one waiting because they're being judged, based on their external form? Like, not okay. So again, like I had to write about that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I want to ask, Michelle, I could tell, has got a question for you, but I wanted to ask this first. Because when you had your third child and you were at your heaviest, and did you make an announcement? Did you say, okay, that's it, I'm going to lose the weight? And if you did make an announcement, did you get the response from people? Oh, now, Jane, I know if you could lose a little bit of the baby weight, that would be really good. But don't set your expectations too high. Losing 100 pounds might be beyond you. Did you get that response, or did you just quietly start changing your eating habits?
It's interesting. It's really interesting, because there was certainly, there's always been judgment. That's the funny thing. There was always the judgment of, oh, you don't need to eat that. You don't need to put butter on that. Jane, stop eating. You don't stop snacking. My mother would say. I think she was still shocked when I lost it and kept it off. And, she's obviously very proud, but she was surprised. But what's interesting is that people would then start to say the opposite. They'd say, well, don't lose too much. You better keep eating. Have you had enough to eat? So people are always watching now to see what I'm eating, what I'm doing. And it's just quite disconcerting. Like, it's not, and it's not okay. And I realize people are just imposing their conflicted relationship often around food and body image, and their issues they're projecting onto me when somebody does have a comment about what I'm eating and what I'm doing. So it's interesting, because everybody has an opinion and they do like to share it. And and going back to I just digressed there a little bit. Forgive me, Kevin, but going back to your original question, I think, my husband at the time, he was supportive. He knew that I'd always been trying, to lose the baby weight had crept on. And then, of course, there was all of the emotional aspects, and it just kept going and going. But so people were aware. And I think because I did it gradually, that's how I maintained it. Because I did it in a healthy way, and I made those small sustainable changes over time, the changes that could stick, that were realistic. They weren't just, some crazy thing I did for a month. Like diet culture would have us believe, you do this for a month and your life is magically fixed, and suddenly, you have the body you had as a teenager, which doesn't work. Like, we're sold a lie by the diet industry. So I think doing it slowly, people then just gradually noticed, and they would certainly, some were very encouraging. It was interesting. Some people would then sort of push food on me and say, oh, you can eat a little bit, have a drink, do this, do that. And then I would think, you don't take an alcoholic to a bar. Why are you giving someone recovering from an emotional eating disorder an extra serve of dessert? Like, please. That was baffling. Like, I don't know what they were thinking.
And I'm sure you had people that when you had dessert would say, Do you really need that dessert? Is that, so there is a lot of shame around all of it. Now, Brichelle, go ahead. I know you have a thought and a question.
Well, it's okay if we take our break, really, because I want to give Jane time to explain what I'm about to ask her.
Yeah, of
So
course.
everybody, make sure that you go and visit her website that we've been talking about. It's got her. Jane, you've got the book on here, right? Yes, she's got the
Yeah.
book on here. Remember
Yeah,
that.
and there's links to
Okay,
the
perfect.
Audible, Amazon, like Barnes and Noble, everywhere that it's available, of course. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes, and people, she did it herself. So if you are more of a person who likes to listen to a book rather than read it, she gives you that option, and you can hear her beautiful voice. I love your accent. I could listen to it all day. So Always Hungry is her book, and Jane McGuinness, theauthor.com is where to go, and we'll be right back. So don't go anywhere.
And I want you to go to her website because she has a Substack page, and a word that I can't say here is on that Substack. So you need to go look at her website because
Oh, that's a future book that one of my future books I'm working on, actually.
oh, very good. And we'll be right back. This is just 30 seconds, everybody. So just stay with us because I wanted to play this. And can you know what I'm going to play, Michelle?
I do.
She does. We'll be right back. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A woman spent years hating the reflection in her mirror. One day, she whispered, "I am enough." Day by day, her reflection became her friend. Self-love begins with the words you tell yourself. Speak gently because you are listening. This is brought to you by Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back, everybody. And Michelle, you knew exactly what I was going to play, didn't you?
Yes, I did, because that one resonated with me so much as I looked at within myself. But Jane, I have to ask you this question because a lot of times when we're talking about any sort of weight, maybe somebody is a little too thin or maybe too heavy, and we usually hear that it comes down to either any sort of mental, emotional health problem, or like an actual disease or something that someone can't control. So when you went through psychology, did you learn some statistics that could help people understand a little bit more? I don't even know how to phrase the question, like how to look at themselves or how to see other people, but just for an understanding point of view, because people don't just choose to wake up and be uncomfortable in their body. You know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. No, that's a great question. Thanks, Rochelle, because you're right. And I did, when I took a deep dive into the psychology of it, it was fascinating, and it was so interesting being able to reflect in reverse, and then of course now being able to help people and share through this book and future books what I have learned about disordered eating. Because what we know is that, whether it's binge eating disorder or anorexia, bulimia, they're two sides of the same coin. Ultimately, when somebody's feeling dysregulated, they're under stress, they'll move toward food or away from food. So of course, someone with anorexia moves away from it. Somebody with the binge eating or emotional eating disorder moves toward it. But it's all coming from that same place of not feeling safe in the body. And when we're dysregulated and we don't feel emotionally safe, the sympathetic nervous system kicks in, which is why often when people are in the kitchen, they're under stress. I know most people have at some point been there in their lives. I certainly was for a very long time. Go to the fridge or the pantry looking for answers and snacking without any real awareness of whether I was hungry or full, because I was lacking that interoceptive awareness of knowing like what was going on from the neck down in my body. So a lot of people will live their whole lives like up here with they've just shut it down. So there's no feelings of hunger or fullness. Like, we're shutting down also the feelings, the emotions that are uncomfortable. So often people will just push it away, and eat, seeking comfort as a distraction. Then the sympathetic nervous system's activated when we're just frantically grabbing food without even tasting it or enjoying it, not respecting food or the body. So I think that's key. And then recognizing, okay, what we really need to do is be able to get into that place of engaging the parasympathetic nervous system, and just when we get the parasympathetics like to help, bring us down, and then we can just feel so grounding, the diaphragmatic breathing. I meditate every morning, yoga, Physical exercise is also great, of course, for resetting the nervous system,
Mhm.
which is why I work out now for mental reasons as much as the fact that I then have energy. But yeah, all of that, a lot of people just don't have an awareness of the emotional aspect, which for a lot of people is at the root of this, because most of us aren't just constantly hungry. I know I wasn't. I was eating, but I wasn't physically hungry. I was always snacking. I never gave myself time to be hungry. And
Well, it's so interesting you say that. Kevin, I would love your perspective on this because I think I'm realizing a lot of it can maybe come from the way we're raised, right? My great grandpa, still to this day, he's got a time clock to the dot on when he eats. And whether he's hungry or not, the man will eat. And when me and my mom kind of figured that out, it's like, how would we try to rewire that if that's been his system for so long? And it just blew my mind away because grandpa doesn't his body and his brain are like disconnected, and that's got to be really unhealthy. Kevin, was that normal back in the day to have like set schedules more for eating?
There was a thought that you did three meals a day and 2 snacks a day
That's what he did.
and stuff. And
Yeah.
and even some medical professionals would say that. And you need to have a balanced diet. You need to eat breakfast and lunch and dinner, and then don't eat after 8 p.m. and have a couple of snacks and all of that. But that can lead to dysfunction in its own way as well. I wanted to bring this up, Jane, because
Absolutely.
back in the day, there was a
Mhm.
gal by the name of Karen Carpenter. Are you familiar with her?
No, I'm not. But you have to forgive me because I was raised in Australia.
Oh no, I get it. And she was. Do you know who Karen Carpenter was, Rochelle?
I think so. I heard of her. Was she a singer or an actress? Something?
She had the most wonderful voice. She was with the Carpenters, her brother
Of
and
course I
her,
know the Carpenters. I just didn't.
Oh yeah,
Forgive me, I didn't know that Karen was.
and
both of
and
us.
and she actually died of anorexia because in those days they didn't recognize the signs. Okay, so she was losing a little bit of weight and she didn't like how she looked, and she was always trying to lose weight even when she was painfully skinny.
Yeah.
And which is do you find in your work that that is changing a little bit, and that we are more cognizant and more aware of that in ourselves and other people, so that we can go and get the help that we need? Because
Mm.
she never got the help that she needed.
Yeah. Then there's certainly more awareness now, far more, and conversation around it, and the supports are out there. But what saddens me is that the statistics show that this is still prevalent, and it's not just affecting women. I mean, it's people of any gender now. The statistics around young boys and eating disorders being on the rise. It's just horrendous. And I can't recall exactly, but it's an alarming number after diagnosis. Globally, these young, trying to recall with the girls. Anyway, they're dying. Like within 5 years of diagnosis, maybe it's 3 or 4% will still die in this land of plenty because they don't feel good enough. They're trying to shrink their bodies. Because we get these toxic messages from society and diet culture telling us that we're not good enough unless we look a certain way. And frankly, I think the pendulum that has swung back now to the ultra skinny, thanks to Ozempic, we're seeing celebrities that were already in slim bodies now fading away is terrifying because our kids are seeing that. There are people that are still seeing that and aspiring to that. So it's just absolutely
In your
terrible.
research, Jane, did you find at any point that any of this was genetic? Like whether it was the emotions and the trauma we were taking with us, or the mental state of it, or just the disorder itself at any point?
I mean, there's certainly a genetic component. I mean, it's multifactorial. There are so many pieces, whether it's maybe small t or large t trauma, the environment we're raised in. I mean, often, well, certainly at times, I know in my own experience, I mean, family and friends and relatives can make what they think is harmless comments. But if you're a child being told you're too skinny or you're too fat, and, people can just say the most horrendous things. I mean, that can really, really trigger some very, very disordered eating. Like it's it's terrifying, and it's incredibly sad that these kids are getting the message. Well, we all are. Like, you've got to look a certain way and fit into a certain size, and if you don't, you're not good enough, and you need to change. And so that needs to change, that attitude. I mean, yes, progress is being made, but I don't know. I think we've still got a long way to go.
Well, and there's a lot of diets and diet programs and that kind of stuff, including I was even told about a coffee enema. And I said, what in the hell would you do that for? And it's like, well, it detoxes the body. It's like, shows. So the next question I had was, is the coffee hot or is it cold?
You could probably do the same thing if you ate prunes. I mean, really, it'd be far more pleasant. My mother refuses to travel without them.
My mother, bless her soul, when she got older, she loved to eat prunes and stuff, and she was hard of hearing, so she couldn't hear the results of eating prunes sometimes, and so
she probably felt it though.
She did.
She would back away into that. But anyway.
That's too funny. And actually, I wanted to quickly touch on something that you'd said earlier with regard to people eating by the clock and being told you have 3 meals, you snacks, and do this and that. I think what's dangerous about that, and particularly when somebody gives away, relinquishes any control over when they eat because they're following a set diet that says, okay, you've got to eat this every 3 hours or this every 4 hours. What we're doing is we're not trusting the body. We're not listening to internal signals of hunger and fullness. So we're giving away our power. And I think it's extremely, extremely, it's unhelpful and unhealthy at best. I mean, it can be incredibly dangerous because we're ignoring if sometimes we might be hungry, but then we're on a diet that says, oh no, you can't eat for 3 hours. So we just shut that down. Other times we might not feel like food, but the diet plan says, well, we have to eat now X amount, and we weigh it, all this, that, and the other. I just think it's madness. And I think we've just forgotten common sense. Like, I really do believe it's a whole lot of madness. People get overwhelmed. They don't know what to listen to. So I really do maintain, like, our grandparents were certainly right about a few things, and their parents, take a walk, fill up on vegetables. They're full of fiber. They're good for you. I don't believe, the whole, like, don't touch any fruit, that movement of you can never have any fruit, or you can never have any bread. Like, forbidding anything doesn't work for a start. And I don't think that's healthy, because I absolutely believe in balance. And I certainly didn't gain 100 pounds because I was eating too many bananas, I can promise everybody that. So I always find it ridiculous when these diets tell you to avoid something like as harmless as a banana. Like, I mean, no one's going to eat 50 anyway, because, like, you're going to be full because of the fiber. Like, let's just all use some common
and the stress people go through makes everything worse in it. But Jane, did you just feel better right after you made that decision, or was there maybe a few weeks that went by and you were like, wow, like maybe people don't see what I'm experiencing, but like inside of yourself, did you just feel better? And how long did that take?
Yeah, I certainly did. And because I tried on and off, but then I just, I knew I wasn't having more children. I thought, right, this is it. Like, I really, it's just time. Like, I'd had enough of not having energy, not feeling well in my body. But what science now knows about the microbiome, I find fascinating, because before I knew what the microbiome was, I realized over time I'd always loved cooking, but of course to make sure I got enough protein, stop doing so much baking, make treats really, I think, need to be, in my world anyway, treats. Like, you're not supposed to eat cheesecake every day. Like, there's a bit of a story in here about cheesecake, because I still love it, but it's a treat now. I don't have it all the time because my body doesn't need it, and it wouldn't be healthy to have every day. But yeah, what I realized with the microbiome was I healed mine before I knew what I was doing. And that's why I felt better too, because we know now that most of the serotonin in the body is produced in the gut. So when I had got those happy tummy bugs going, and my microbiome was happier, because I was eating just a ton more plants, and I'd always eaten vegetables, but obviously I eat way more now, and warm salads and all the rest. So I felt better mentally too. And I was walking and exercising, getting all the happy chemicals going. So there were a lot of pieces to the puzzle that all fit together.
Yeah.
And I do believe that's why I've been able to maintain this, because, and sure, I mean, you know, I'm absolutely not perfect. I mean, if there's this really stressful, you know, situation, I find
Oh, I
myself
don't know
walking to
about
the
that.
kitchen.
I
That's
think
been
you.
quite the topic, Kevin.
I think you're practically perfect in every way, just like Mary Poppins.
Well, thank you. That's, you know what, that's so sweet, Kevin, because I actually joked to my friends. I joke that I'm like Mary Poppins with a cotopaxi, because I actually plan on doing some. My youngest child's going to university, she graduates this summer, and I'm going to travel. And I joke, like, I'm just going to go where the wind takes me, like Mary Poppins, but I've got a cotopaxi, not an umbrella.
And by the way, we are talking to Jane McGuinness, and just like the beer, almost, it's a McGuinness. And today, I have to mention this because of McGuinness. Today's St. Patty's Day, you know.
Yes.
I wore my green shirt, y'all.
I know.
Yeah. Because I'm a McDonald and she's a McGuinness, we don't have to wear the green. We are the green. So
I'll go with that.
we need to take our halftime break, and when we come back, I want to ask you about gastric bypass surgery. And because what I've learned through the experience of friends and stuff is that you can lose the weight, but if you don't fix your head, the weight will come back. And even with those things. So I'd love to talk about that in your work. And also the book, Michelle, the website and the book, please.
Website to go to is janemcguinnesstheauthor.com, and she's got the book there, which is called Always Hungry. You can also find that on Amazon and is now available in audiobook, so you can check that out as well.
And go to her Substack page, which is a word that I'm not alled to say. So in any event.
Oh, actually, it's All Things Moderation. I apologize. I should have made that clearer. There's a link to another book that I'm working on, but the Substack's All Things Moderation.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, okay. That's even better. So we'll be right back. Stay with us, everybody.
Yeah.
You're listening to Positive Talk Radio Network. We're on a mission to entertain, enlighten, empower, and educate through inspiring music, dynamic conversations, and yes, laughter. Join me, Kevin McDonald, and Brichelle as we declare our freedom from hate, division, and fear and celebrate a better way of living. Go to positivetalkradio.net to find out more. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. And welcome back. We're talking with Jane McGuinness, and Brichelle's here, and Brichelle's dancing as always. It was always nice. And Jane, what did you think of that piece on kindness?
Oh, that's just spot on. And yeah, absolutely one of the messages that I wanted to impart in the book, you know, as people read the story and then I hope reflect, maybe perhaps, you know, sometimes we're not even aware of the fact that we can be even slightly unkind. You know, it can be a subtle comment, but judging somebody's body, whether they're in whether you think personally they're too big or too small, it's, you know, it's no one else's business. And often we say these things and it can be really subtle, but incredibly hurtful and painful to the person it's directed at. And I think it's 2026. We all still need to be told, because a lot of us still forget to be kind. Not okay.
Yep.
And by the way, a smile costs nothing.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
So walk around and you're like, They're like, what
absolutely
is she on?
true. Yeah, but it is, and we forget that. And I think if we go out and smile at the person at the supermarket, if somebody looks grumpy, I make a point now to smile and try and like give a little love, because we all need that in this world. Like no one needs me to look cranky, and if that affects somebody, then there's that flow and domino effect. I think if it helps them to feel a little better, maybe they smile at the next person. But it can go a long way, and it just starts with us. Like that's what I've learned.
I think about compliments. Have you ever had someone come to you and tell you about someone else they saw? Oh, I saw this girl at the supermarket today and her jacket was phenomenal. Well, did you tell her? No. Why? It's those little things, like we almost act afraid of each other. Like we're squirrels and lions and bears in a grocery store.
Yeah.
Rather than just being human and saying, hey, I like your shirt. I like your this. I like your that, because that compliment could change how somebody chooses to see themselves, right?
It's so true. And we are way too disconnected. In my work, I'd find so many people would come in. Not only would they present with, in session 3 or 4, we'd find out they did have a conflicted relationship with food, but that wasn't the presenting issue. There was often a body image issue that was underlying. But yeah, there was a lot of loneliness, a lot of people struggling. And all of those studies show in terms of longevity, no matter what you do, if you don't have friends, people around you that you love, and those social networks, it's incredibly harmful for our health. And that's really sad that we're ironically incredibly connected online, but disconnected, So that's a huge, yeah.
Well, and I think it even adds to the dysfunction, because I don't know if you know this, and I'm sure you do, but if you go online, everybody's practically, and another Mary Poppins, everybody's practically perfect in every way. Their families are great. They're great. They're doing so good. But the reality is that none of that's true. We all have got issues. We've all got problems.
On the flip side, though, Kevin, I've been seeing such positivity around this about women who are like, I'm taking control of my health, and they're joining groups and they're sharing their stories and they're communicating with each other. I joined a group of women's health, not what I was expecting. There's all these women and they're just empowering each other, what they're going through in life, what they're going through on their own, and how it's affecting their mental health, because I think that's what it all comes down to, is these things in our life that kind of take over. And so when we gain that control of ourselves in community, I think what you're saying, Jane, is so impactful, because those are the people that pull away. They're the people that will slowly, you don't hear from them. They won't text you as much. You don't get a call as often. Something is off, but we don't pay attention to those things. And a lot of times it's, well, maybe we should just give them space. So how do you approach that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a really good, it's a really good point, and yeah, no, there was a couple of things that just came up for me then, because I was thinking that, back to Kevin's point just briefly, I think what we do is often, if we're not real, we're only posting that perfect photo, that perfect moment where we pretend it's perfect and everyone's smiling, but no one really, well, certainly in the past, they wouldn't put the real picture up of, the kids screaming or the argument on the way home with, your partner and, all of that. I love when people get real, and people are starting to do it more online and be honest about the fact that, this is tough. Let's all support each other, because it can be very, very dangerous when we're just fed this toxic lie that everyone's life is perfect. And then we look, and of course kids look and they see the supermodels and they see the images, and then they look in the mirror and think, well, I don't look like that. I think about my 3, and gosh, you just want to protect your kids. I don't want them to look at a picture online and think, well, I have to starve myself to look like that, or I have to do X, Y, or Z. And yeah, we've had a lot of conversation around that, and it's changing, but I think we need to support each other absolutely with these communities online, and just be real about the struggles, and the fact that I'm certainly wanting to share that too. Like, it's not always easy. I'm human. I have days where if I'm under stress, I can't, a lot of times when I'll feel lonely, or I'll go to the kitchen, but the difference now is most of the time, I realize straight away, oh, this is what's going on. I need to slow down and feel these feelings, process that. I'm not processing it in the fridge is not a solution.
It's an escape. It's medication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's numbing. Yet we escape, we numb, we distract. I mean, some people it's sex, alcohol, drugs. Like for whatever reason, for me it was food. You know, I mean, certainly, in my family history, I know there was some great uncles. I mean, McGuinness. You know, there was definitely some alcoholism, so there was some addictive. I mean, there was some addiction there in the, you know, in the
Yep,
family.
that's one of the places I've always wanted to go in Australia is a pub, because they have the best time in the pubs in Australia, and
Well,
and
you. Mhm. Sorry.
well, no, they have a great time and they enjoy life and stuff. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned in your book, and also that you had an eating dysfunction when you were a kid,
Mhm.
and you got to the point where you wanted to lose the weight. What did you do on the emotional, or the emotional side, to be
Mm.
able to defeat the demons that had been bothering you in younger years, which
Yeah.
allowed you to then be able to lose the weight and keep it off for a decade? That's not easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Absolutely. And maintenance is a very different beast, which is what I'm going to write more about in the second book too. But, you know, I looked back on, I mean, you know, I had unhappy parents. So there was some small T trauma, which is not uncommon. But looking back, certainly in my teenage years when this disordered eating began and my relationship with food became dysfunctional, it was a substitute for love. You know, it was an escape. And so I'd feel sad. I'd immediately equate that with, oh, I'm going to bake a cake or a cheesecake or whatever, and I'll feel better. And, you know, so then it just, and we know sugar's addictive. So I eat it, you crave more of it. Like I wasn't not getting enough, you know, healthy protein or whatever. But it was, yeah, the dysfunction was absolutely rooted in emotional, you know, sadness, like unhappiness, grief, you know, anxiety, you know, those insecure feelings that, you know, I had as a teenage girl. It was Food just became a very easy place to go in the kitchen. It was comforting, and it's not uncommon. Often we do this, and for myself it just spiraled out of control. Absolutely. So healing, you know, something else I discovered was the work of Janine Roth after the birth of my third child, and her work, you know, Women, Food and God, Breaking Free from Emotional Eating. When I read that was the first time I really looked closely and started to question my relationship with my body and food and emotions and what was going on, and sort of put the puzzle pieces together and realized, oh, this is what's been happening for decades. Like, this is what's going on. It's real, you know, it's not really the food. It's why I'm heading to the kitchen when I'm sad. It's why I'm reaching and going to bake and distracting myself, you know, when I needed to deal with what was going on in here. I think that's the piece for a lot of people that's missing, and that's what diet culture often doesn't address, like the emotional, the disorder.
And Rochelle works with a lot of teenagers. Are you noticing the same thing in the teenage world, Rochelle?
Yeah, yeah. I know my family is just small. We're very small people. And you know, but I noticed that it was crazy how you mentioned with the boys, because the two youngest of the boys, my whole family is very small. Their mother's not even 100 pounds, but he only eats certain things. And I've been trying to kind of figure this out. And the more that I understand him on the inside, I'm understanding, but it's only eggs, rice, and, you know, other little things like the bare minimum of what your body needs. But then he comes to my house and he's eating chicken and he's having flavors and he's having sandwiches and I recognize that is so much of how he feels where he's at. And because we can see this in kids, sometimes they overeat or undereat at school. I was that kid,
Yeah.
because I've never really felt like I was hungry or ever full. I was always hungry. So everywhere I was going, I was constantly in trouble for stealing food, eating someone else's food, overeating something that, you know, you're supposed to get these portions. They do that in school and I hated it.
Yeah.
And, you know, teaching our children to listen to their bodies and to accept their emotions is kind of where I'm hearing that this ties together a little bit, Jane. And on your website, you brought up, this is why I want to bring it up. These kids and these adults and these teenagers especially are probably like, you know, oh, well, they can do it and they're special or they're this or they're that. And I know through your journey, somebody's told you, oh, well, Jane, she's just special, so she could do it. But anyone can do this, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I know in my own experience, what I needed to do was make a commitment to myself to reclaim my health. And I also had to keep going. Like we're going, I think often people, they'll try a diet and then, it's the all or nothing. So it's like, well, firstly, I don't believe that, the ridiculous diets, of course. It's not a long-term solution. I mean, they don't work in the long term, but I think people try it. They might fall off the wagon, have a big night out, and then it's just, okay, I'm just going to eat everything. So it becomes an all or nothing thing. Yeah. So I think what's really key is making small sustainable changes and also using the power of time to your advantage and recognizing if it took years or decades to gain the weight, it's not supposed to come off in 3 weeks, in like some crazy, let's get ready for summer bikini diet, it's going to take time to heal the body internally and externally. So I think we need to practice self-compassion, recognize that if we want to improve our relationship with food and heal the body, then start with self-compassion, make small changes that are realistic. I know I did that. So it was, of course, I started with shorter walks, and then they got bigger, and then I incorporated hiking and pushing myself when I felt ready. But I also recognized when I was just determined, you've got to get up. Like it's like the Mel Robbins, who's amazing, who says, you've got to get up and shop and do the hard stuff. Like she doesn't always want to work out. I get that. I don't always want to either, but I've never regretted a workout. Like after I get up and do whatever it is, might do just a walk or a bike ride or whatever, always feel good afterwards, and it's just getting out the door. Like she says, I use that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 now that she says sometimes, because it's raining here in Vancouver. Like I don't want to go out in the rain. It's awful. But I know I'm showing up for myself. And my son taught me this, which I love. He said, his decisions today that he makes today as Alex determine who Alex will be tomorrow. And I love that. So I try.
How old is this child?
he's nearly 18.
That's pretty
good.
dang smart for an 18-year-old, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud of him. I'm just grateful that he wants to do another hike with me and another Camino at some point and travel with me, because, at that age, I have this little window and then he's going to be traveling with his friends. So I need to take advantage of that this summer while he still wants to. Well, I'm not completely uncool,
Yeah.
Well, and I want to mention this because, as a parent, your kids go through the different times in life, from teenagers to early 20s to mid 20s and beyond and stuff. And it is important that you set the example, because what you've done is you've changed your family generationally. Because if you go back when you were at your heavier weight, they may have looked at that as the norm, but instead you're fit, so they're fit. So, and everybody, and it's not a matter of body size or whatever, it's a matter of health.
Yes.
Isn't that right?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's absolutely about health and vitality. And that's what I had to stress to my kids and separate, because society, of course, has all of these views about my body now. And I had to realize, no, I'm doing this for me and my kids. So that, it's absolutely about maintaining health at this point. It's not about looking a certain way because society approves of me. And, someone commented the other day, I mean, my kid's father he's a bike rider and he's very active. But they commented, they noticed that out of my 3, my son's about to do kinesiology, and my middle child is studying nutrition. And they commented, they said it's interesting that they've chosen careers in the health field, and that was all on them. That was their decision. But I do wonder if perhaps they've seen the photos, the before photos, and they recognize that I value our health and mental health, physical health, like it's all intertwined. And I still love food. I'm a foodie, but I love real good whole food. So we all love to cook together, and keep it as real and as unprocessed as possible, in terms of just healthy. So I certainly hope if I've helped them in some small way, encourage that, because I know my father passed suddenly, and he wasn't, sadly struggled with depression, but he wasn't healthy. And I absolutely wanted to break that cycle. So I can't take credit for them, but if I've influenced them in some small way, then I'm
Of course. Well, and you're teaching them that it's exciting and it feels good to be healthy. Like, what more could a parent do? So, seriously, props to you, Jane. Take that and run with it.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. They didn't always. And my daughter used to hate hiking. I mean, she would.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
Mommy, this is boring.
I hated my mom until I was like, probably like 22, 23. Yeah. Didn't like her. Nope.
Oh, no, my middle one hated it. Now she loves it.
Good. And Rochelle, if somebody wants to buy the book again or get a hold of Jane and talk to her or any of that, how do they do it?
Yes, you can go to JaneMcGuinnessTheAuthor.com. And Jane, I know that you got your registered clinical counselor license. Do you now still work with people on their journeys and all that kind of stuff? And is the website the best place to reach you?
People can certainly reach out. There's links to socials, and they can, or the Substack, All Things Moderation, but they can go to Jane McGuinness, the author. But at the moment, I have to say I am winding down my practice because I'm focused on writing the next book, and then the one after that, because I realized I can reach more people that way, and I truly do want to share more about, the how and why of emotional eating, what's behind it. Also, in my lived experience and with my clinical knowledge, what I've learned about losing it and keeping off the weight if you want to do it in just a common sense way, and so incorporating lots of stories too, because I don't want to I'm certainly not going to write a dull book for anybody because nobody wants to spend $20 on that, but I promise to make it funny. And so I'm at the point where I'm just segueing into full-time writing so I can get it done. Yeah.
And Jane, I have to ask you also on your website, you talk about 40,000 feet, which is, and that's part of your Substack page, and it's I assume it's about flying and the retards that fly and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, yes, it's interesting. It's actually in the first chapter of the book. And if people go to Audible, they can hear the beginning of that story where there's a 5-minute free Audible so you can listen to it. Because in the first chapter, I'm at an airport and it hits me. Like, people do stupid things on planes all the time. Like, the Darwin Awards, everybody gets it. So I thought there's a book in this. So I decided, okay, we're going to give awards to people who do, I call frequent something else's. I won't repeat here, because they're not frequent flyers. They're frequently something else that starts with F, because people are often thoughtless, they're inconsiderate, and it's of course tongue in cheek, but I've seen so many ridiculous things on planes and in airports in my travels, and other people have all shared stories with me. I thought, okay, I'm going to compile that. So there is a website and a link at the bottom of my Jane McGuinness page where people can go if they have a story to share. Because I think, frankly, it's going to be a funny book. I think the deeper meaning, of course, is let's all just be a little more considerate when we're on a plane and thoughtful. But I want to make people laugh because goodness knows, there's a lot of things we're not laughing about right now. And there's a lot of people, the trauma, sadness. I just want to bring some joy. If I can make someone laugh, of course, huge win. And if I can help, even 1 or 2 people, if they read this and it helps them to maybe make some changes or look at their own relationship with food, their body in any kind of positive way, I would love to hear from them, certainly through an email or on my socials. And that's a win. That's why I wrote the book. I want to, I don't know, I'm a bit of a Care Bear.
No, and it's a wonderful thing. You're very kind and stuff. And Rochelle is just starting to start traveling by air, and she'd rather be the pilot than to be in the back of the airplane.
Give me control, and everything will be fine, right?
But I have to tell you, where she lives, people behave a certain way. She went to Phoenix, and she was in a grocery store, and she sneezed, and 2 people said, "Bless you," and she was like, "What?" Because she's not used to that where she lives, and people would actually be kind.
Yeah.
Is that right, Rochelle?
Yeah, it is so true. And it threw me off because I felt like I was the mean person out there. Everyone's smiling and they're walking with their dogs and all the kids are outside playing together. And I was like trying to absorb because it almost felt like I was in the future, but I was also back in time because everybody was Like, it was just crazy, Jane. The neighbors were all, you get to your house, you open your door, all the kids say hi, all the moms, if somebody's on their patio, hey, you know, everybody's
Oh,
playing their music, and it's life. It's
I
just
love that.
open, free life. And
Mm.
you know, I think sometimes when we're in our communities, and I thought about this from my own perspective of my home, because if I'm in my home and I can start being that crazy Arizona person, I'm going to do it. I don't care. I'm going to go outside and say hi to everybody. I see lots of times there's somebody
Yeah.
walking their dog. I always smile at them. Most of the time they look at me like, ew, why are you smiling? What's wrong with you? You know? But I know that it sticks with people because it stuck
Yeah.
with me. And if it can start somewhere, it can start with how I feel about myself and where I live and my environment and what I am portraying. Because if I'm a part of that, I need to take a look at that. And I
Mhm.
think that's where the change can happen, because everybody's happier everywhere else.
Oh, exactly. It's so true. I love that. It really does start with us. I noticed that when I was at home in Australia last December, you know, and we're known as a friendly people. It sounds very much like, yeah, that sounds very, you're describing something very Australian, which is terrific, because everyone says good day down there, you know, and they smile. And I realize,
They
wow, sometimes
care.
I get caught up in a city environment, no one looks at each other and they don't talk, and that's sad. Like, we all need to remember that, like, make the connections, you know, we're relational beings. We're certainly not meant to be alone in isolation. So yeah, I think that's
Well,
really
and
beautiful.
happy experiences, not negative engagements. That's what I realize it usually is, you know, it's like when you're engaging with somebody, or you know, what's crazy is that Kevin's always like, when we go to Australia, we're going to go to the pub. And when I'm here, sometimes at home, the happiest place to be is at the pub, and I'm like, this is not right. You know what I mean? So I'm opening up my energy, and I'm trying to help how I'm feeling and how that is affecting other people, because if I can help guide that when I'm down at the hot tub or in the pool this summer or in the mountains. I've had somebody make me cry and think about my whole life in the mountains. And I
Ah,
will never forget that woman. So it's just in
oh,
these times, like, take the
I
time
love,
outside of yourself to show kindness, because really you're giving it back to you. And
yeah.
Jane, you do that every day. So I'm
Oh,
just so thrilled that um,
thank
you
you.
are who you are, for your kids, for yourself. Me and Kevin have a piece where we talk about
Yeah.
we're always willing to die for each other, right? But are you willing to live for someone? Are you willing to live
Yeah.
for yourself? And what does that look like? And you are that. So thank you.
Hol-
Oh,
Hold on, I have to
thank
play that.
Okay.
Here is another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. The world is full of people who would die for someone they love. But what about living for them? Waking up early to take care of your health. Letting go of the habits that steal your years. Choosing rest instead of running yourself empty. The truth is, your family doesn't want a hero who dies for them. They want a parent who stays, a friend who grows old with them, a soul who chooses life every single day. Don't just die for love, live for it.
Dedicate that to you.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Thank you.
Don't you love those pieces that we do? Okay, I love those pieces that we do. But what do you think of them? Like the be kind in the mirror and to live for it.
Oh my goodness. We absolutely need those messages, because I think we get so caught up. Everybody gets, it's so busy, you know, in the just surviving and, you know, kids, work, you know, paying the mortgage, whatever, you know, bills. And we forget to slow down. Like I always say, the little things are the big things. It's
Mm.
the smiles, it's being kind, it's helping someone when you see them, you know, if someone's dropped something, like help them pick it up, you know, all of these little things. That's what really matters and connects us. And yeah, I think we forget our own humanity sometimes when we get caught up in, you know, just these ridiculous like worries when the mind's spinning, and it's, you know, and it's all the little stuff that doesn't matter that we worry about.
Do you ever notice that we worry about stuff that not only do we not have any control over, it probably isn't going to happen anyway?
Exactly. Oh, 100%. I mean, I teach my clients, you know, something called the circle of control, because most things in our life, they're outside of our circle of control. And my kids know this. I tell them, in here, like I can control my actions and behaviors and choices and my words and thoughts. But out here, the weather, what someone else says, the cranky driver, can't control any of it. So I just get to control whether I'm kind or not, or thoughtful, whether I show up for myself. And this is what we all need to remember, because often a lot of us spend a lot of time trying to control and worrying about everything that's outside of our circle of control. And that's a lifetime of wasted energy, let me tell you. Like it's just like running on a hamster wheel. You're not getting anywhere.
I was professional. I had awards on that hamster wheel, okay? But it is, I love how you say the little things, Jane, because when I started to give myself the little things, I started to see the little things, and it engaged me with the world. We're like disengaged with the world by being disengaged with each other. And through this summer of 2026, I am so excited to see that change. How about you?
Oh no, I love that. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Like, you're absolutely right. And I'm excited this summer for that reason too. I'm, as I mentioned, doing something that scares me a little, which is why I need to do it, which is going like permanently, like start to travel and get this next book written, finished, and go and live somewhat nomadically. I'm putting everything into storage. I'm surrounded by boxes here, and because my kids have grown, and it's time to I joke I'm about to eat, pray, love my way around the world, but I'll be eating moderately and healthily. But it's doing those things and with kindness and just spreading that in the world. So if I can do that, that's a huge one.
So Jane, you're gonna have to come back. I'm sorry.
I would love to. And you're going to have to, when you go to a pub in Australia, you've got to order a Guinness.
That's a little dark for my taste, but that's that's okay. But Rochelle, I love the way that you end the show. So and by the way, Jane, thank you so much for being here. I've had a delightful time. I hope you have.
Oh, absolutely. No, thank you both, like to Kevin and Rochelle, for welcoming me. It's been really, really awesome. It's really, really lovely.
Jane, you're our family now. That's how we work here. So welcome to the family.
Kevin, I would be back anytime. Oh, I apologize for interrupting.
Good. No, you're good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin, for making these conversations possible so that Jane can come and tell her story and her courage and inspire people to say, hey, I'm worth it for me, and I'm going to live for me, because there is people that'll love me also, and the impact that has is worth it. So thank you, Jane, for being here, for having your website available for people, which is JaneMcGuinnessTheAuthor.com. Go and get her book, Always Hungry. You can also find that on Amazon, and it's now available in audiobooks if you'd like to listen to it. But reach out and contact Jane when you read the book and let her know how inspiring this is and how it's changed your world. And Jane, thank you so much for continuing this journey. We are so excited for you and your kids and the next book. So when that comes into play, please come back.
Oh, 100%. It would be my honor. I would love that.
Okay,
thank you so much to you.
Yes. Well, thank you everybody for being in the show. I hope you've been inspired and touched. And Jane, thank you again so much for your time. Until next time, we love you.
Oh, likewise. Thank you.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.